Finch. You got to Beverly Hills last Saturday, played the Lakers Sunday, played the Clippers Tuesday. Don't play again until Saturday, which is tomorrow, against the Utah Jazz. Now, rumor has it you are continuing to stay for a seventh day at the Four Seasons in Beverly Hills. So why the extra 4.5 days in Beverly Hills and not Salt Lake City?
Well, I'm trying to keep my job, and to do that, I got to keep players happy. So we have a lot of guys who are actually kind of based here in the off season and have homes, and guys that help them work on their bodies, help them work on their games. So it's kind of a nice little reset here coming down the stretch. But it is a weird scheduling quirk. We played 4 back-to-backs coming out of the break. Pretty intense schedule right out of the break from the All-Star game. And then we get this kind of mini All-Star break, if you will, right in the middle of it. So,
yeah.
But it comes at a good time because we're a little banged up.
Right, but and you don't play for 4 days, from that Clippers game. Then what's even to take the strange and make it stranger, Chris, is Monday. And so Monday you're at Utah. Then Tuesday you got a back-to-back with Denver at home. How the heck does that happen?
I don't know. I mean, it's a lot of this. I think is kind of a result of the in-season tournament. The in-season tournament, the games were spaced a little bit more, kind of, periodically in the beginning of the season. And then the week of the semifinals and the finals of the in-season tournament, if you weren't involved in those games, the league was kind of shut down for the large part of that week. Mm-hmm. And that's, 2 or 3 game slot nights that just eases the schedule everywhere else. And now everything kind of gets backed up as a result. And losers' laments are I'm not trying to make this a loser's lament, but, and I know you're not into that, but honestly, do you feel if Rudy played Sunday, you guys would have beaten the Lakers? I mean, I feel we would have had a really good chance to.
Right.
Yeah, I thought, I was proud of the guys that gave ourselves a good chance, good shot. We kind of ran out of gas. A little too much Anthony Davis down the stretch for us. But, we needed length and size and protection at the rim and rebounding, and that's where they got us. And we just kind of ran out of size.
When you're when you're running the show, running the team during games, I don't know how much you'll notice with an arena. But for my son and I, for Smiley and I, and thanks for the picture too, that was really cool. The difference in how the Lakers treat in-game ops compared to the Clippers, it was unbelievable. I mean, it's like the court's illuminated and the arena's dark for the Lakers games, and then the whole place is super bright for Clippers games. They're playing shell games up on the screen. They're doing trivia and laser shows. It's just completely different, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think Lakers have that what they call that stage lighting, where they darken the arena, just light the floor, and that's kind of part of their tradition, has been for a long time. When I was an assistant coach, I'd notice a lot more of that stuff. For some reason now, I don't get to see it as much, but mostly my back is to a lot of that in the huddle, timeout wise. But it's kind of crazy. I had some friends visiting out here while we were here, and they had never been to games in LA, and they were just amazed at the fact that the arena turns and looks completely different between the two teams. In fact, I think on the Sunday game, the Clips played at 12 noon, and we played at 6:30. So When we got to the arena, we weren't even allowed to access the floor because they were still flipping it over from the previous game. Yeah,
that was really easy to get to Crypto.com Arena that day with the Clippers game ending, yours starting, and the Oscars in town. I mean, LA traffic is immortality, but that little hour from the hotel, that was unbelievable. Now, for that Tuesday game, granted, Kawhi left, but what flipped in that Clippers game so it became so easy to score?
Well, I think we were able to keep, we finally got some stops. We started that game. We weren't getting any stops defensively. Partly due to them. They were making some tough shots, and we didn't have enough kind of physicality on the ball, and we weren't executing the game plan to the level we needed to. So once we started to get some stops, we were able to turn them into transition buckets, which we desperately needed over the last couple of weeks, is to get our transition game going. And I think we had a season high 27 points in transition. A lot of that, of course, from our defense. And I think that was just kind of got some momentum into the game. And then we just, kind of got a great rhythm, made the right play all the time, and didn't fight the defense. And Anthony did one of his best jobs just getting his teammates the ball at the right time, the right place, while still maintaining his own aggressiveness, which is a balance that he's still learning, every day is a little bit different based on what your opponent's going to do to you. So that kind of snowballed there. It was fun to watch.
I think, it was elite to watch. And with Anthony, it looked to me Tuesday, TNT game, Sunday, ESPN game. It looked to me Tuesday like he was like, Sunday was a nationally televised game, and I and we are not happy with what we put out there. So watch this. I and we are capable of this. Those national TV games, where Barkley and Kenny Smith are involved and players are watching and stuff. Those moments matter to players, and the big timers, right?
They absolutely do. And I think the other thing that mattered a lot to our team is they were disappointed in that they didn't get that win against the Lakers. Regardless of who we had or didn't have playing,
right?
We have that expectation to win, which we love. And they felt they let themselves down. Those team hadn't lost 3 in a row all season. They weren't about to let it happen against the Clippers in front of a national audience.
Chris Finch's appearance is weekly 9 to noon, courtesy of Prize Picks, Daily Fantasy Made Easy, and Second Harvest Heartland. Chris is on the board of that philanthropic endeavor. It is twoharvest.org. Anthony, back to Anthony. He's tearing up teams of late for sure. But a couple of things about his game. Do you feel his 3-point game is about to break out?
Yeah, I do. I think actually he needs to shoot more threes, more catch and shoot threes. Now the trick is there. We've got to create them for him. We got to have some ball movement and got to have some gravity from other guys to draw to and create a little pass combination so he can get some good clean looks. But he needs to just trust it, let it fly, shoot at an elite level. It's one of the things he does absolutely best. And I think it's going to continue to set up a lot of other things like his play off the catch, which will help his foul drawing. And when all that's going, he's really, really hard to guard. And I think a lot of it comes from his ability and willingness to take that 3-point shot.
And secondly, Anthony's on-ball, one-on-one defense these days, it's high-end. I mean, it's not just good. When he's engaged with it, man, it's high-end. Has it improved over the season or just something in which he's taking more pride?
Yeah, I think it's improved because I think he feels and understands, the more he plays against certain guys or he understands their tendencies, he can anticipate, he's got strength, he can move his feet in the tight spot, he's got excellent hands, a better feel. It's definitely been improving. The care factor's gone way, way up, I think, early on. He's felt that, I'll pick my spots, but he's, right now he knows that he's got to be a more consistent defender all the way through possessions. I mean, with the amount of load he has to carry offensively, of course we need to be smart in how we employ him defensively, but you'll often see him flip the matchup and go take the guy who's hurting us, and that could be, we've seen against Jaren Jackson, we've seen against Zion Williamson, we've seen against Damian Lillard, we've seen against all types of guys too. So his versatility there defensively is another big weapon for us.
Conley clearly was feeling it on Tuesday. How key with Mike? How key is that for you guys when his offense ignites like that?
Yeah, I think it's crucial to our success moving forward, particularly in the absence of Cat. We need another guy who can score it, who is a reliable scorer. He's one of our best 3-point shooters. He turns down a lot of open threes, and he has done for the sake of the greater good so far this year, run the show, etc. But we're pushing him now to be more aggressive. And if you may not remember this, but when he came on board last year, after about 5 or 6 games, we told him, hey, man, we just lost D'Angelo. He was a big scorer for us. You're going to have to score more. And he really scored well down the end of the season and into the playoffs. So he can do it. He likes to do it, and, we saw the other day how important it is for us when he does do it.
How, by the way, how are you feeling these days? I mean, you had to miss that game last week. You feeling all right?
Yeah, no, I'm feeling much better, thanks. That's the first game I've ever missed in my basketball career. I missed one preseason game when my mom passed away a few years ago, but other than that, as a player and a coach, I've never missed a game. But so that was a very, very weird feeling, but I'm feeling much better, thanks.
How strange was it not coaching that game? Like what did you do? Sit in the locker room and watch it?
I did have to watch it from afar. So, but yeah, it was strange. But I trust our guys. I thought the staff did a great job. I told Micah before taking the floor, just coach it as you would coach it. Don't worry about coaching it like how I would. It was a tough back-to-back. Players fought. We didn't have our best stuff, but I liked the effort. Some mistakes in the end hurt us. They were tough to watch, but, always pleased and proud of the effort.
Did Micah draw up like his own offense and put his stamp on things and like go rogue on the opportunity?
He didn't go rogue. He used mostly the stuff that we used, but he did also, you do a few things, and that's what I tell coaches all the time. Like in the after timeouts or end of game situations, like it has to be what you're comfortable with, what you can clearly communicate to the players. What you want to execute. There's really no right or wrong plays. I mean, they're really hard to get them accomplished anyway in some of those situations, but. You gotta know that stuff innately, and you gotta be able to communicate it in the moment, and that's the most important thing. So there was a few things that he's very comfortable with that he chose to do, which I thought were the right things for sure.
All right. Lastly, you play Utah at Utah Saturday, then at Utah Monday, then Denver here Tuesday. So for Utah, I don't know how far down the road you are on them right now, but like. Without Markkanen, what's tricky with them? Rookie guard Keontae George, he can score a little bit, can he?
Yeah, he can. Really liked him, watching him through the draft process. We saw him early on in the season, when he was just trying to figure out the league, how dangerous he could be. Since then, of course, he's, gained more role, gained more confidence. Markkanen is back practicing, so we're not sure if we'll see him or not. My gut tells me we will.
Right.
So that's going to make it tough. But, they're really, really well coached. They play hard. It's always a tough place to try to win, no matter what. Whether they're top of the Western Conference or somewhere in between, it's traditionally been a really hard place to play with altitude and, passionate fan base, and they've taken some big teams down there. So it's going to be a tough little series. Those 2-game series are always hard.
Hey, man, I'm glad you're back up and running. God bless you, brother. Thanks for the hospitality out to Southern California way, specifically for my son. And safe travels, all right?
All right, no problem. Yeah, I'll see you next week.
That's head coach Chris Finch, Minnesota Timberwolves with PA. He opened the show this morning. And again, this weekend, they got that chill time until a couple of games in Salt Lake against the Utah Jazz. When we come back to not only Wild winning last night, but who's in, who's out in terms of Vikings free agency. The Vikings made a trade to acquire an extra first-round pick. We'll talk about all of that when we return 9 to noon on the... Time for News to Nord, brought to you by The Casino at Canterbury Park. CanterburyPark.com. Learn more about poker, blackjack, and table games all year round. Bingo on Tuesdays. And then mid-May, live racing for the 2024 season. I think it's Preakness weekend, in which they'll be live with racing, live with Preakness action. Of course, you can go to Canterbury, bring on the big hats. That's what Canterbury says for the Kentucky Derby as well. But go to CanterburyPark.com for all event details. We'll start with the Minnesota Wild winners last night.
Up ice pass and a good one. Leeson in with a shot, uncontested. Houston, and Fleury fought it off.
Yeah, Fleury is so good. Stayed on his skates also. He'll direct that puck away from the net.
Hartman off the rush to the back post. They score! Kirill Kaprizov stays red hot. And after Fleury makes a great save at one end, the Wild come right down the ice and make it 2-0.
It was Zach Bogosian and then Kirill Kaprizov. You heard it there with the goals. 2-0, the shutout. As the Minnesota Wild now 5-0-1 in their last 6. Dig that. Not really climbing up the charts per se, although Vegas, they lost last night to Calgary. So despite they've played one more game than the Golden Knights, but they are 4 points out of that final wild card spot as it sits this morning. And next up tomorrow, they're going to be in St. Louis to take on the Blues. That's 3 or 4 starts in a row now for Fleury. Maybe you get Gus Bus back in the mix here down the stretch with 15 to go. Still not a lot of hope in terms of crawling back into the playoff mix. But all the same, the winning ways, they're hot right now.
And Husnudinov was fun to watch. I mean, I hadn't really heard of him until recently. Watched him for the first time last night. Super fast, like Hines said, like Gorg and Russo shared with a Vox in the Box yesterday. He was fun to watch. Game was kind of a grind. The Anaheimers thought they made it 2-1, but there was a blatant offside, so there was a nullified goal. So they just keep chipping away. Long shot terrorism to get to the postseason, but grabbing 2, giving 0 beats the alternative.
4 block shots for Husnudinov last night, throwing his body on the line for his new team.
Yeah.
Some NFL news, PA. The Minnesota Vikings made that trade. We've talked about it several times throughout the show, but it certainly is the news of the morning. Vikings and Texans found a way to a deal where Minnesota, that's us. We're the Vikings. They take the 23rd overall pick from the Texans, along with a 7th rounder this year. So pick number 23, then a late one. That's what Vikings get. Then Houston gets the Vikings' 2nd round pick and a 6th rounder this year, along with next year's 2nd. So a couple of 2s and a 6 to move up for that 23rd overall pick. Kwesi's making plays to create, I think the term today has been used many times, flexibility, and I really like it.
Yeah, as do I. Now, in looking, at the top 11 of the draft, when you have the 11th overall pick and then you have the 23rd, so immediately it's okay. Chicago, Caleb Williams, then Washington, New England, Arizona, the Chargers, the Giants, the Titans, the Falcons, the Bears, and the Jets. So if you are to use both those picks plus more to move up to a quarterback spot, the low hanging fruit is going to be potentially 3 with New England, 4 with Arizona. Maybe 5 with the LA Chargers. Maybe. I think the Giants are a wild card here. I mean, they gave Daniel Jones a deal most felt Daniel Jones did not deserve, and he didn't play well last year. And it truly is specifically with 6, maybe 7 of them, a very deep quarterbacks draft. Maybe the Giants are dead set on taking a quarterback at 6.
Now, I don't know if it's guaranteed, but they did add Drew Lock. It's a 1-year, $5 million deal, so I don't know how much that plays into. You add Lock, it's not a ton of cash, but all the same, to then go to a QB at 6, they're certainly going to try and get it right if they do that, no doubt.
I think it's more of a wild card, at least as part of the thought process. Let's put it that way. Titans, long shot for a quarterback. Falcons, no. Bears at 9, no. Jets at 10. I mean, the New York Jets absolutely could covet a quarterback.
Well, they're going to need a QB when Aaron Rodgers is the vice president of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
How about that? So it's tricky.
I mean, we have like 6 weeks before the NFL draft. Plenty of time to talk this out. But don't forget, Monday, whether we are at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center or we are here, Minnesota Vikings General Manager Kwesi Adofo-Mensah starts our show Monday. So Kwesi doing that cooking all week, specifically this morning. He'll be on 9 to noon Monday at 9 a.m.
Running through who's in, who's out with the Minnesota Vikings, just kind of resetting things free agent wise, because you said it yourself, PA. You just can't step away from the television, your phone, or a paper from new news without new news taking place. So we know about Jonathan Grenard, Blake Cashman, Andrew Van Ginkel, and Sam Darnold. We know this is who's in. Aaron Jones, 1-7. By the way, podcastable later on. You would have heard short interviews with Aaron Jones, Andrew Van Ginkel, and Blake Cashman that PA did from yesterday. So podcast that later on.
Aaron Donald retired?
Aaron Donald, future HOF, 8-time pro, All-Pro.
Wow.
And his 111 career sacks. Yes, he did announce his retirement. I don't know if he's possibly an in for the Vikings. Probably not. Jerry Tillery, former first-rounder of the Chargers, started a couple of years with them, 12.5 career sacks. He's bounced around, I think most recently the Raiders, and he's here on a one-year deal. Trent Sherfield, the wide receiver, is in here on a one-year deal. And then there's a kicker. I don't know what the money situation is with this, but John Parker Romo,
What?
XFL cred, is now a kicker on the Vikings roster.
The YouTube bit who keeps hitting the 70s and 75s on YouTube?
He might be on YouTube. Yeah, I saw a video on Twitter/X of him kicking a 73-yard field goal.
Okay.
The Vikings also re-signed David Quessenberry, Johnny Munt, Brandon Powell to a one-year deal, Blake Brandell, 3 and 9.5, and Jonathan Bullard. So that's who's in/who's staying.
Yeah.
Who's out? We know about Cousins, Daniil Hunter. DJ Wanham got a 2-year, $12.5 million deal with the Carolina Panthers. Jordan Hicks moves on to the Browns, 2 and 8. And then Marcus Davenport, 1 year, $6.5 million with the Kitties. So that's kind of who's in, who's out. I don't even, all that money coming in, going out the door via all these free agents. I don't even know what the cap situation looks like right now. So, when it comes to, what about Dalton Reisner? What about a corner? Those are popular and important questions, I think, as free agency continues. I just don't know how much money the Vikings have at this point. So.
Right. Now, with DJ Wanham, it's we said this after the injury, is sadly for DJ, that deal, the 2 and 12.5, whatever it is, that injury probably cost him about $10 million because the way he was playing and the fact he was set to be a free agent, but he's coming off a significant injury, drove the market and the value way down. Now, it's my belief the Minnesota Vikings wanted DJ Wanham back.
Yeah.
So it's the lines of delineation established by Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, they make it relatively easy to determine whether things were done right or done wrong.
Yep.
And with DJ, the Vikings could have afforded that deal. But like with DJ,
and I don't think any of it's guaranteed either. That might. You want to talk about losing money? The guaranteed dollars off the torn quad. That's,
good point.
That's tough for him.
Well, and big time, $10 million. It's at least $10 million on the hit for DJ. That sucks. But like with Cousins, it's clear with Wanham they had a price.
Yep.
And he ain't budging from that price. He might budge a little bit, but he ain't going to budge enough to fight somebody. And I just feel that's also the case with guard Dalton Reisner, where just because we see Ezra Cleveland get 14 guaranteed from a team in the AFC doesn't mean Kwesi and staff deem that as the market for Dalton Reisner. So it's playing the discernment card. I just believe they have a number for Dalton Reisner because I do believe they want him back. And if Dalton and his new representation, I don't believe he has the same agent as of yesterday, if he and his new representation acquiesce to that number, whatever it is, then I think Dalton Reisner would be back here.
Oh, I'd like that. One last thing for you. Troy Dye signing a one-year deal with the Chargers.
Wow.
Some fresh news as of about 10 minutes ago.
That's all that happens. Somebody leaves, somebody comes. It's Kwesi crazy. This Monday through right now has been Kwesi crazy.
And I know we're out of time, but this Aaron Donald thing just sticks with. It just bona fide, just HOF of HOF. We've been Chris Jones really is the last in the league right now of that guy that Vikings fans like us dream of.
Yeah.
Aaron Donald walking off into the sunset. That's nutty.
Unless like Dexter Lawrence or Quinnen Williams or Chris Jones. Now, Chris Jones is immortality. But to do what Aaron Donald did, as long as Aaron did it, for my taste, as 3 techniques go, John Randall 1, Aaron Donald 2.
Yeah.
And Quinnen, Dexter Lawrence, rest of the cats, they're all running for third. I met somebody very kind and very smart with the NFC North at the Scouting Combine in Indianapolis a couple of weeks ago. Her name is Carmen Vitali, and she covers the NFC North for Fox Sports. She'll join us next. Be right back. Carmen Vitali covers the NFC North and football for the Fox Sports family. And Carmen joins us now. You can follow her, as 9 to Noon does, via Twitter, or X as the kids call it, at CarmieV, CarmieV. And Carmen Vitali joins us now. How you been? Good chatting with you.
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me, Paul.
Right on. And well, what a beat to have. The NFC North. I mean, from Keenan Allen yesterday through the big Kwesi trade this morning with Houston, the Lions, the team to beat in the division. They're like, yeah, we know DJ Reader has an injury, but we'll still take him because he's a wonderful defensive tackle when healthy. Carmen, what a wonderful beat you have this NFC North.
They've certainly kept me busy since I took it over a couple of seasons ago. We have a staff of division writers at Fox Sports, and I'm routinely the one that has to talk the most on our weekly.
So with the trade the Vikings made with Houston, now the Minnesota Vikings now have picks 11 and 23. What's up with that? Like your discernment, your gut feelings. What's up with that?
It was a gut feeling I had actually even yesterday. I was on the NFL on Fox podcast talking about. I was kind of put on the spot by David Hellman saying, "Are the Vikings, come hell or high water, are they trading up to get a quarterback in this draft?" And I said yes, because this is a team that was reportedly in on trying to trade up for C.J. Stroud last year with a fraction of the capital they have this year, and now their backs are a little bit against the wall. Kirk Cousins is gone. They need a plan B. Sam Darnold is a bridge quarterback. He's not the end-all, be-all. And these guys are going to be aggressive. And sure enough, I wake up to this trade by Kwesi, which is the first part of what the Vikings are going to try to do to move up, I believe, into the top 5 to try and go and get one of these top quarterbacks. My gut says Drake May, but I don't know that for certain. This is going to be really, really interesting going forward, and it's going to take more than these 2 first-round picks, but this was the first step, and Kwesi hit it out of the park. Okay,
what would lead you to Drake May? I mean, like something you learned at the Combine, or do you watch a lot of college football? What would lead you to that name?
Yeah, no, it was conversations I had in Indianapolis at the Combine of who Kevin O'Connell and his staff really like. And listen, the Vikings are very well set up to develop a new quarterback, a young quarterback, with Kevin O'Connell, former quarterback himself. And then you bring in Josh McCown to be the quarterback coach, another former longtime NFL backup. And these are guys that have seen everything. And obviously, we know how good of a coach that Kevin O'Connell is. I've been talking about it ever since last season, and he was playing live-action Madden with Josh Dobbs and Nick Mullins, literally telling them exactly what they need to do before that headset cuts off on every single play. Kevin O'Connell is a phenomenal coach, and especially when it comes to quarterbacks. So I really think that they can develop guys. And I think Drake May has a really high floor when it comes to a guy that can step in right away. And he's got all of the traits. He looks the part. And I really think that he fits into a Kevin O'Connell offense by way of the Sean McVay kind of tree really, really well.
Now, the Vikings in free agency, I mean, all the way back to Monday, and there goes Cousins, and, now it's 11 and 23. But in between, it's more action than a Rambo movie, man. I mean, it's just Kwesi's just firing left and right. Okay, you got to go. Okay, you're here. Okay, you got to go. All right, we'll take you. Of the players that from Grenard, the Texans pass rusher, Blake Cashman, Andrew Van Ginkel, Sam Darnold, Aaron Jones. Any of these names do anything for you for the immediate future for the Vikings?
Well, as someone who's been covering Aaron Jones also very closely when he was with Green Bay, I mean, this is the guy that you want in your locker room. I cannot say enough about who Aaron Jones is as a person. And then, of course, when he's healthy, he's so productive. Even now, I really think this is a wonderful addition to whoever the Vikings quarterback ends up being, because Aaron Jones is absolutely that guy, that veteran presence that you can lean on in the backfield. Minnesota fans are absolutely going to adore him if they don't already. I mean, he's doing the skull chant. He's got the purple sombrero on. But like I said, it really comes down to how good of a person he is and how wonderful he is to cover. So the Minnesota Beat's going to absolutely adore him. I was really surprised to see Green Bay let him go. So I'm glad I get to still cover him. That's how good of a person he is now that he's in Minnesota. I also really loved the Jonathan Grenard trade, just kind of in a vacuum before we realized that it was basically a player-for-player trade with Danielle Hunter. This is a guy in Jonathan Grenard that had 12.5 sacks last year. And something I learned from having a conversation with Brian Flores before the start of the season last year, he told me that he isn't used to having these blue-chip pass rushers. If you look at his defenses in Miami and even going back to New England, he never really had that double-digit sack guy, and that's why his system is so creative. That's why you see multiple blitzes from multiple levels of a defense. It's because Brian Flores never had the guy to just win one-on-one. So now you have that guy, and you have some help for him in Andrew Van Ginkel, too. I think we're going to see some even more kind of creative packages, but I really am looking forward to what Brian Flores is able to do, especially with the addition of a couple more linebackers, and you kept Harrison Smith. This defense runs through linebackers and safeties. So I'm really excited to see what this looks like, and I really think that this defense is going to win games for the Minnesota Vikings in 2024.
Carmen Vitali, part of the Fox family, does podcasting, covers the NFC North. I met her at Courtney Cronin's event at the Indianapolis Scouting Combine, and via Twitter at CarmieV, CarmieV, at CarmieV. And I'm looking at it right now, Carmen. Aaron Donald, the Adam Schefter broke via Twitter that Aaron Donald is retiring about 26 minutes ago. 20 minutes ago, Kyler Murray tweeted, "Thank God." I mean, it's like he's sitting there looking at it. It's like, what? Thank God. I mean, it's Aaron Donald retiring. I mean, it's not super surprising. He was waffling, but holy cow, that's big news right there, isn't it?
It is, and I tweeted it just a few minutes ago, because when I think of the best player to ever play the game, I do not think of a quarterback. I think of a defensive tackle, and I think of Aaron Donald, because this league now looks completely different without him in it. The fear that he instilled in opposing quarterbacks especially. I mean, I grew up in Chicago. All I ever had to hold on to was defense. So I became a very defensive-heavy girl. I love watching defenses, and I love the chess match between both sides of the ball. And Aaron Donald is one of the guys he's the only guy that affected so much across the league and just struck fear in everyone. He was so fun to watch. And he was just the ultimate underdog, right? Because he's this undersized defensive tackle, yet he's so powerful and just does things that no human should be able to do. I am so sad to see him go, but I mean, what a career it was. Just an absolutely massive move that now, again, changes the entire landscape of the NFL.
As an NFC North beat writer for a massive entity in Fox Sports, I mean, you're constantly working, specifically this time of the year, on like the what's next plan for teams. Now, the reason I bring that up is if I'm Justin Fields, I'm kind of wondering what's next. I mean, it's speaking of shoes dropping, it's he can't find his shoes. They're like lost in the closet because he's still a member of the Bears, which I can't see happening when the season begins. But what do you think of all that?
Yeah, I mean, well, he's in Milan apparently right now, so he's not worried about anything, and good for him. I've been saying this for months now, where the trade of Justin Fields, I was always kind of weary about what his market was going to be, because it does take two to tango. And we see this sentiment, especially around Chicago, about, Justin Fields' market is shrinking. I don't really think there is such a thing. The market's not shrinking. It was just never there. And it won't be there, I don't think, until the draft comes around. And I know Ryan Poles said it at the Combine, where he wants to do right by Justin. And I have no doubt that was absolutely his ideal scenario, was being able to move Justin Fields before free agency. But obviously the market's not there right now, and I think it's going to take a team that needs a quarterback that isn't able to get one in the draft to be able to kind of offload Justin Fields and make way for the new quarterback that's inevitably going to come into Chicago. I think that's the right move for the Chicago Bears. They're in such a unique spot having that first overall pick with a quarterback class like this one that's so much better than years past. But at the same time, they're probably going to have to let Justin Fields go for a day 3 pick at this point because you do not want Justin Fields and say it's Caleb Williams, these two guys on the roster at the same time. That's going to create division in the locker room. And for a team that stresses culture as much as the Chicago Bears do, you don't want to put that division in there. So it's going to be very interesting, I think, how this ends up playing out. And I really think that if Justin Fields goes somewhere to be a backup, especially if it's somewhere like Baltimore or somewhere like Philadelphia, where he sits behind a guy like Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson, they have similar skill sets to him, he can boomerang back into a starting spot after learning from those guys for a year. I have no doubt of his talent. I think he can still be a quarterback in this league, but it's not going to be for Chicago.
Terrific work. Have a beautiful weekend. God bless you. And let's do it again soon, okay?
Anytime, Paul. Thanks so much for having me.
Yep. See you. Carmen Vitali. She podcasts and covers the NFC North for the Fox Sports family. And you can follow her, as 9 to Noon does, at Carmi V. CarmieV. Always looking to add to the Love Covenant stable. All right, well, got the weekend now. Here it is. 9 to Noon's done. And the Minnesota Vikings ended the week with a splash. They traded with the Houston Texans. So the Minnesota Vikings have 2 picks in the first round. As of now, picks 11 and then Houston's 23rd, plus a 7th from Houston, 232. The Texans get our second rounder, 42, 188, a 6th rounder, and a 2nd rounder in 2025. The Vikings very much alive with this draft 6 weeks from now. Woo. With picks 11 and 23. And Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, general manager of the Minnesota Vikings. We'll start the show with Kwesi Monday at 9 a.m. We'll tweet it out over the weekend in case you forget. But Kwesi, Monday, 9 a.m., 9 to noon. Thanks for listening. I'm Paul Allen. Here's an order to put a wrap on the show.
And the wraps are brought to you by Kwesi. Not by Kwesi.
Yes!
Maybe the wrap should be brought to you by Kwesi, and maybe Kwesi shops at Casey's, who brings you the wraps. I love Casey's. You know, the pizza's elite. You got the BOGO deal, large 1 topping. You get the second one half off. Casey's Rewards, saving on food and fuel. Love Casey's. An early boost with juice from Rap Sheet. Ian Pelissero on the NFL News Beat. Batter up. Kwesi's taking a huge swing as fans were like, the Vikes never do these things. Now we doubled up. 11 and 23. It's 9 to noon. Thank God our takes are all free. McCarthy or May, I suppose it's up to KOC's taste for the future of the operation. There's no time to waste, as we know. Brzezinski, a money wizard. Navigating through this free agency blizzard. Armed with an abacus, they got him working so hard. Hey, Rob, do we got enough cash to sign a left guard? Vikes haven't been this active in years. Charge filling the Grand Canyon with his Kirk tears. Thanks for listening on a busy week. We gotta go, but on Monday, you heard it from PA. We chat with Kwesi from TCO. Jim is Kwesi.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.